Hello, I'm Will, and I have no idea what I'm doing. A case in point, it's about 5:30 right now, and I've spent the whole day thinking about starting this video, and I never did. So now it's dark, and it looks like ass. Whoops. But very successful days like these tend to have a kind of soundtrack to them for me. Almost like ambient noise music. And by that, I mean the Boeing 747 impression that this laptop does when you do pretty much anything on it. Now, as someone who isn't a huge tech head and who, I guess, again, knows nothing, this laptop is fine for me. It produces music, it just about edits videos, it's been going for about 5 years, it's fine. But also, I'm pretty sure it is louder than my actual oven. And that's weird because it only gets about 70% as hot. So the laptop makes noise, right? But here's the cool thing about noise. It is every frequency all at once. You get different flavors of noise. You get white and pink and brown, and each of those will have their frequencies distributed in different proportions with one another. But in any given noise, you've got every frequency, and that makes noise like a block of stone from which you can carve out any other sound in the entire universe. Here is the exact spectrum of frequencies created by me as I express the innermost anguish that lurks in the very depths of my soul. Now, if I had a precise enough EQ and no responsibilities, I could carve out this exact sound just from any old block of noise because the frequencies are all there to start with. And now what that means is that when I've been sat here for 6 hours and accomplished nothing, my laptop, which has been at cruising altitude the whole time, has been unleashing every single sound in the known universe all at once. And that kind of makes me feel like ass when I've just spent the 6 hours squandering my limited time on this earth. Anyway, in this video, I'm going to point a microphone at the laptop and record the noise and make music out of it. Okay, fellow serious musicians of the world, welcome to the Serious Musician Studio. It feels kind of condescending to describe what I'm about to do, but I'm going to point a microphone at that laptop and probably we'll get some noise. Now, I can see already lots of you commenting, oh, whoa, look, he got a mic stand, wow. Well, actually, no, I didn't. We're using a different mic, all right? Do one. Incidentally, I've actually had this Audio-Technica mic for like way longer than I've had this SM57. I'm going to swap between the audio signals of each one right now, and you can tell me which one you like the most, but I'm still just going to hold this because some people really don't like that. Now, you're never going to guess what's going to happen once I take this bad boy and hear that, baby? That's noise. That's everything. This is eternity. Now, we can get different flavor profiles, if you like, by exploring different parts of this musical instrument that we've got here. So let's just do a quick scan of the available timbres that we can extract from this thing. It's interesting, right? You get a real shift in tone as you move across from this end over to the other end. Whoops! Did you catch that? I just brushed the spacebar, and in doing so, turned the audio recording off, and in doing so, it made it so that you can't hear the microphone in a video about hearing things via the microphone. You absolute melon. Luckily, I've gone back in and overdubbed this like the world's most pointless Foley artist, so you can hear what I'm talking about as I chat absolute garbage in the rest of this clip. Enjoy. It's interesting because the timbre gets so different, but like just from here, compared to if we gradually take it over here. Who'd have thought? Now we can just flip it over onto its back. Oh, anyone else feel like that was a bit violating? Sorry about that. Now we can. Oh, get some real vent noise. Check that out. Some different tones over here. So we go from like the real, thick of the furnace out here. And then the dainty little one of the workers within the machine. What am I talking about? Okay, so I've tried to just, gently put a little more stress on the PC. We've now got a gamer situation going on over here. And then I've also got my editing software up here running the earlier version of this video. And then if we switch over to Chrome, I've also got 20 copies here of my YouTube studio window. And I could just update each of them, maybe see if anything's changed. Maybe, for instance, if someone has subscribed. Anyway, we're switching mics now because I want to show you what happens when I point the trusty SM57 at the laptop. It's real different. Check this out. Whoa, what the heck? That's not just regular old noise. We got some kind of electromagnetic thing going on here, right? And the really cool thing is that the whole quality of this noise changes substantially depending on where you point it at the laptop. Presumably I don't know, something to do with the internals. So that over here we get a pretty typical, interference type sound. But then as I move it over to the left, we got deeper over here. And then it starts absolutely screaming over at this bit. And then kind of settles down here. More of a kind of turbine engines type noise here. There we are, like a kind of propeller type sound. Somewhere over the touchpad starts getting really fizzy. You can almost hear the electrons pulsing. Turbines crossed with fizz over here. And once again, silent in this corner. How intriguing. So I'll make a confession to you now, which is that I actually knew that was going to happen, and that's really the actual reason I'm making this video, is because I think those interferency sounds are going to be really interesting to design things out of. And also, currently I have no idea why they happen, but luckily I'm now going to cut to an educated version of myself who can maybe explain what's going on here. Yeah, I have absolutely no clue. Thanks, educated Will. Now, I'm going to start designing some sounds in a moment. But first, before I pack away, let's get a contact microphone on this. Woohoo! Neat sounds, nice job. Now, welcome to Ableton. First order of business is going to be looking through all of the audio that I've got in front of me right here. So I have 3 tracks. They are just straight from, what I used while filming this video. I got the contact mic on the top, the SM57 with its kind of weird dynamic mic interference thing going on, and the condenser mic at the bottom, which was just very straightforward noise. So each of those is going to give us a different flavour of laptop recording. I'll scan through, cut out the highlights, delete everything else, and we'll end up with just the interesting stuff, which we can then hopefully, do sound design to. In the case of the contact microphone to start with, it's just going to be any section that doesn't have some absolutely horrific handling noise in it. You can see these big ugly transients are just where I'm absolutely getting my paws all over the microphone. It's not ideal. So really, it's the stuff between those with this one that's going to contain the heat. I like that, slightly different vibe to it. Okay, so we have all of the contact mics roughly all together, and then I'll move on to the next one. Now, these next two are going to be a little more annoying to kind of curate because I imagine I'm just talking through the whole things, which absolutely no one wants. Anyway, we're switching mics now. Whoa! So, depending. Okay, and then I just start chatting absolute guff. That's good. That fizzy one's so interesting. Right over the top. You shut up. Listen to that. You shut up. That's cool. So I curated the SM57 sounds here, and then a quick peek through the regular old fan noise. Nothing special, nothing interesting, bit like me. So that's our kind of thick, juicy fan noise. And then I'm moving over to the left-hand side of the speaker here, and it gets a little lighter and more airy. I think that little grinding sounds really cool. There might be some hi-hats in there perhaps. And then that's just a big old block of concrete. That's basically kind of pink or brown noise, isn't it? So I think I've covered most of the bases there. And this is the bit where soon this whole project's about to get way less tidy. So what I'm doing now with the contact mic audio is just chopping up these kind of small chunks that I isolated earlier into even smaller little micro chunks, like fractions of a second long. Just like really basic things which you can then later on with a bit more effects, a bit more kind of attention, turn into decent kind of quite interesting percussion sounds. Make sure that there's always this little bit or else you're prone to get a little clip in there. And the envelope that you're making makes such a difference with these sounds. Listen to how different this sounds compared to this. The exact same chunk of audio, but just the length of this and the shape of this makes a huge difference. There's also quite often interesting things to be done with the gain and the pitch. So, little fragments like this one, pretty unassuming on its own. But when I pitch this up, I like that as a little pulse of audio. For me, that's giving kind of a soft little kick. You could do a lot with that. And so it's worth messing about, with the pitch. It's good. This is actually the method that I use to make quite a lot of my samples. A lot of the 303 sample pack was made like this. So I've gone ahead and sent myself into a bit of a Ableton sampler spiral, really. I copied one into this sampler and made a kick. And then from there, it becomes so easy to iterate and make a whole bunch of other ones. So I've got a kick, another one, another one, another one. And the way I'm doing it is probably not the most economical or clever or resulting in the best kicks. But every time I get one that I like, for instance this one, I'll then duplicate the whole entire track so that I end up with another one on a new MIDI clip. So I'll just experiment. It is very much a non-scientific process. As I've stated many times, I do not know what I'm doing and should not be trusted for foolproof recipes. It's not a scientific process, right? It's all vibes. I've been deep in the sound design trenches, so please do excuse the mess of this project. However, we'll find our way through together and I'll show you what I've cooked. First thing I did was make way more of those chopped up hack drums. There's 16 of those per microphone, and let me just blitz through them now. Nice! But the more involved thing is the tonal sounds. And now I've come at these from a variety of different, variously psychotic directions, but they all revolve around the central principle of start with your noise that has everything, big old block, and then chisel out frequencies until you're left with something that you like, and it can sound however you want. Here's how mine sound. You know the deal, it's like a kind of spooky, ghostly, ethereal pad. Well, the way that I got there was I started with this lovely chunk of interference audio. And I ran it through 5 EQs, which I think is a concept that might upset some of my viewers. But each of these EQs, if you look at it, I'm kind of carving out different frequencies that I want. So on this first one, you can hear that's already kind of picked out a couple tones that I want, and then I zero in on those further. And then look, I don't know exactly what I was thinking. I made these about 2 weeks ago, but by the looks of it, I kind of tamed the mid-range a little here, because it was getting on this frequency just a little much. Cool off the bass. And then we just kind of give it a final little bit of sculpting, and that gives us, a ghostly little sound. After which point I recorded it here, so this is just kind of raw audio. It's baked into this sound file. Sample that into the Ableton sampler, and you end up with your Ghost Vox pad. And the way that I've set up this sample is so that it's actually looping. So if you hold down a note for long enough, it bounces back on itself. And because there's various stuff going on, because each part of this waveform sounds very different, what that means is once you've got loads of notes all going on at once, they're all going to end up kind of morphing and shifting and being in different places. Gives you quite a rich old soundscape. I'm a big fan. It's probably bad practice to design the sounds kind of with the effects like this being so integral to it and, kind of being played at runtime every time you're going to use the sound. But it's also probably bad practice to record the noises of your laptop. So I think theory is out of the window with this one. And the great thing about designing pads like this is that you can copy the sampler over, make a new one, adjust the envelopes a little bit, and you've designed a keys patch at the exact same time, like this. Then I cooked up a kind of much noisier, messier pad using the inbuilt bandpass filter that sits within the Ableton sampler right here. So you end up with a kind of much more noisy, wispy kind of sound that is perfect to score the snow level of your video game. Ooh, getting cold just hearing it. And likewise, mess about with the envelope a little bit and you are never far from a keys patch. Damn, that one's actually quite nice, isn't it? Now, given that some of those pads and keys actually sounded relatively fine, I'm really hoping that you're going to cut me a little bit of slack on some of the absolute goofiest basses that I have ever produced. Oh. Okay, so what happened here? I started with this chunk of audio. Like that kind of real thin electromagnetic interference, which in hindsight, interesting place to start when making a bass, but I did the following three kind of directionless EQs to it to end up with this. So I sampled that chunk of audio into the Ableton sampler, but the desperate effects are nowhere near over because you can see I got a real heavy compressor on that, going into a decapitator, into two saturation knobs, both pretty enthusiastic there. Oh dear. And then count the EQs, okay? 1, 2, 3. Oh dear. Good thing I turned off the plate reverb. Limiter just... Oh, what was I thinking? I mean, look at that amount of sub. That is irresponsible. It's not my best, okay? I tried again. So for this one, I stopped trying to be clever. I'm pretty sure this is the exact same chunk of audio that I used for that like initial pad. I'll come back to the saturation in a minute. Look at that. 1 EQ, absolute finesse, and then quite an aggressive compressor at the end. And the reason that I've done that is because this sound is interactive with this bad boy. So much happier with this one. I like that it's interactive. It feels unique. So that's what I'm going to go for. Next step is going to be to make some actual music with the sounds that I've just shown you. My lazy hack job samples have been gently inserted into the Digitact, which means that it's possible, you know, for me to throw together a little beat. I've already done that, and it sounds like this. It's a pretty basic 2-step beat. I think it's 2-step. I'm not really cool enough to know the exact categorization. Let's get Overbridge clapping and we'll go from there. Now, a joyous moment. The beat is safely in Ableton, which means that I can just set it going. I've got my sounds ready to go from what I've designed like 2 minutes ago in this video. And that means that now I can start just jamming and vibing and making some tunes. So we've got a bit of structure now. I've kind of laid out some bass and had it develop very slightly. So what that means is I can now start getting the other instruments involved and see what kind of things we can do. Like this. save MIDI button. Yeah, and there it is. We get to keep it. Sweet. I quite like with this ghostly pad, kind of playing this D here, which kind of more or less works with both of the chords I've got going on, and then just like playing it using the pitch bend over here. So it can kind of hover around really ghostly. And then I can probably produce that to be even more kind of washed out and just, yeah, ethereal. I like it. And it's starting to sound pretty full at this point. I do have another synth pad I could use, but I don't really need it. So instead, I want to repurpose the bass that we've already got, put a bit of reverb on it, and kind of end up with maybe... That's nice. Okay, I think I've done enough for the YouTuber section, so I'm going to tidy this up now and then come back and say something thoughtful to conclude. No, I'm not. I don't think I can tack a thoughtful conclusion onto this because it wasn't a thoughtful video to start with. And if I wasn't making it, I probably wouldn't have spent 2 months slowly assembling the most average two-step track known to man. But I did, and so I might as well give you the drum samples. They're in the description, download them, have at it. And if you are still thirsting for more guy who will make music out of anything before going to therapy, then might I suggest this video linked here, where I try and make music out of this, which is possibly the worst keyboard of all time. It's me showing you around this keyboard and trying to make some music out of it, which, as you can probably imagine, it was a challenge. Otherwise, thank you for watching the most recent of my very foolish endeavours. And if you're absolutely desperate to subscribe or peruse my affiliate links in the description, don't. Okay, is that long enough?